So in 1838, you had the burning of Francis McIntosh, a freedman who had killed a constable, subsequently lynched by a mob in St. Louis. Yeah, no wonder St. Louis are a bunch of assholes. 1836, Lincoln also referenced the death of Elijah Parrish Lovejoy, a newspaper editor and abolitionist who was murdered 3 months earlier by a pro-slavery mob in nearby Alton, Illinois. So this is Abraham Lincoln, 1838. It's the Lyceum address, the Lyceum speech, the speech to the Lyceum. And he says a whole bunch of things, but ultimately the main point, the main purpose is that Abraham Lincoln is telling America that we need to cultivate a political religion. We need to cultivate a political religion that emphasizes reverence for the laws. And we put reliance on reason, cold, calculating, unimpassioned reason. Really, that's all we got is logic and facts, right? We got just our 28 senses, logic and facts, reason. That's all we got. The spirit of the laws is so that we all, that people treat each other better. But I bet you there's a criminal class that don't give a shit about the laws that Denver passes. We need to cultivate a lot of people are fucking lawless, goddamn criminal fucks. People that call themselves sovereigns or kings and queens would be lawless pieces of shit. Motherfucking criminals. Let's see, sovereigns. There's other. If you consider yourself a terrorist, these are red lines that I have not even dared to cross. It just means you go around hurting anybody and everybody, and you're going to do it. If you're a sovereign, you're kind of like doing it for maybe a good reason, but ultimately, I get to tell everybody what to do. It's kind of the same as a criminal, kind of the same thing as a terrorist. What's the difference between a terrorist and a criminal and a king? Any fucking thing? Oh, you want to rule over all of us, huh? We should just put this guy in jail right away. He wants to rule over all of us. Are you going to give us any benefits? No. What about the rights and freedoms we have? No. Are we allowed to get a job? Can we just go get a job and keep what we earn? We can't even fucking do that, huh? That's a terrible goddamn king. So the conclusion is right. In the Lyceum address, Abraham Lincoln's Lyceum address, he says we need to cultivate a political religion. Is that the Republican Party? I don't hate the name Republican or Democrat. I believe America is a democratic republic. You can't have one without the other. A republic requires elections. It requires consent of the governed. But it's also kind of above a pure democracy because it's saying it's a nation state, so let the nation state go forward. So it's kind of the throne and the crown is replaced by the nation state and the elected presidency and elected governors and mayors. But who doesn't like an elected mayor? He had to convince somebody, that fucking asshole over there calling himself king. Wasn't that the same thing? The king and the duke and the Huckleberry Finn? Oh, you're the king, and you're the duke, and you're the king. Okay, sure you are. Sure you are. Hold on. The need to cultivate a political religion that emphasizes reverence for the laws, puts reliance on reason, cold, calculating, unimpassioned reason. Here's a little quote from the speech. It is to deny what the history of the world tells us is true, to suppose that men of ambition and talents will not continue to spring up amongst us. And when they do, they will as naturally seek the gratification of their ruling passion as others have done before them. The question then is, can that gratification be found in supporting and maintaining an edifice that has been erected by others? Most certainly it cannot. Many great and good men sufficiently qualified for any task they should undertake may ever be found whose ambition would aspire to nothing beyond a seat in Congress, a gubernatorial or a presidential chair, a governor's race or a presidential chair, but such belong not to the family of the lion or the tribe of the eagle. What think you these places would satisfy an Alexander, a Caesar, or Napoleon? Never! Towering genius disdains a beaten path that seeks regions hitherto too unexplored. It sees no distinction in adding story to story upon the monuments of fame erected to the memory of others. It denies that it is glory enough to serve under any chief. It scorns to tread in the footsteps of any predecessor, however illustrious. It thirsts and burns for distinction, and if possible, it will have it, whether at the expense of emancipating slaves or enslaving free men. Is it unreasonable, then, to expect that some man possessed of the loftiest genius, coupled with ambition sufficient to push it to its utmost stretch, will at some time spring up amongst us? And when such a one does, it will require the people to be united with each other, attached to the government and the laws, and generally intelligent to successfully frustrate his designs. Distinction will be his paramount object, and although he would as willingly, perhaps more so, acquire it by doing good as harm, yet that opportunity being past and nothing left to be done in the way of building up, he would set boldly to the task of pulling down. To prevent this, Lincoln concluded that there was a need to cultivate a political religion that emphasizes reverence for the laws and puts a reliance on reason, cold, calculating, unimpassioned reason. So, do we have good institutions? Do we support the Bill of Rights? Do we have 3 branches of government? Do we have a constitution that functions? Do we have a republic? Do we have a double republic, a federalist system, right? We got that not bicameral, but the bi-federal system. We got 2 states, right? The state government and the U.S. government. The national government and the 50 nifty United States governments. I'd fight a revolution for the 3 branches of government. I'd fight a revolution for the Bill of Rights. I'd fight a revolution for the Constitution, for the 3 branches of government, for the rule of law, for federalism, and for elections. And I might say, definitely all of them together, but probably each and every one of those individually. America is 1 but 50, so that's okay. We all have individual rights. We got that Bill of Rights, the Constitution. Yeah, we can't have a tyrant here. There's no way, if we're all reading the Constitution and the Bills of Rights and making sure that we're cultivating a political religion that emphasizes reverence for the laws and puts reliance on reason, cold, calculating, unimpassioned reason. We can never have a goddamn fucking Caesar, Napoleon, or Alexander, some fucking tyrannical piece of shit that just wants to run roughshod over the rest of us. Oh, you want all the money and power, huh? And you just want to go do that and take over this and bomb this and hurt that? Okay. How about no? The legislature says no, and the judicial branch says no, and you got 50 states. You got to convince the legislature. You got to convince the people. You got so many things so many checks and balances. And then after 4 years, they're going to step down. So many checks and balances. That's exactly how you stop a tyrant. Every man would be a tyrant if you let him. According to Confucius, it's not just about being the best man out here, but being the best man among men. So figure out who you are, be your authentic self, but you need to figure out how you organize yourself amongst everybody else. You're not my fucking God. You're not my fucking king. I don't want to listen to a goddamn word you have to say. No, I don't want to hear it. No, I don't want to fucking hear it. You just want to oppress the rest of us, huh? Tell us what to do and hurt us? I don't like that, Gilgamesh. Nah, Gilgamesh, you need to sit down there, Gilgamesh. You're a terrible fucking king. I want an elected king. One that's going to step down in 4 years. One that recognizes the 3 branches of government, the Constitution, and our individual Bill of Rights. That's the only kind of king I'll fucking recognize. A president, basically. That's the only kind of king I'll ever fucking recognize. And if you get elected president for 4 years, I am almost, I won't say totalitarian, but I am pretty unitary, theory. The Unitarian theory of the monarch. People are still talking about King Charles I. He got fucking executed 400 years ago, but when you humanize them, when you personify them, it's kind of like their personality, their dignified personality. He was a wimp. That King Charles I was a fucking wimp. But somehow the royalists, they keep them alive. They keep them going. So if you're able to get elected to be the fucking monarch, to be the autocrat, to be the president, to be the king, then you get to be a hell of a fucking king. For 4 fucking years, you get to be a hell of a governor, hell of a mayor, hell of a county commissioner, hell of a sheriff. You're elected. You're better than any king and queen out here. You actually got a couple people to vote for you. They never got anybody to vote for them. They don't believe in elections. They don't respect other people's rights and freedoms. They don't believe in the rule of law, federalism. 3 branches of government. What the hell is all this shit? What are you talking about? Checks and balances. What are you talking about? So this was Abraham Lincoln's Lyceum address, January 27th, 1838. January 27th, 1838.